Welcome to the More Life, Less Drama podcast with mindset expert and master executive coach, Prue, who will teach you how to finish your first goal and then every goal using her simple, proven formula. If you're ready to live more life, have more fun, and reach your potential with less drama, you're in the right place.
Well, hello. Welcome back to another episode of More Life, Less Drama. This is the place where we get to be ourselves, to, live in our lives and learn about ourselves. That is my number one goal for this podcast, for you to know yourself so well that nothing gets in your way. And that doesn't mean, people, when you're listening to this, that life looks like it's drama-free, it's all sunshine and rainbows and butterflies and all the good stuff and that you feel fantastic. No, not at all. It's about being okay in the parts of your life that feel pretty terrible at the same time as when you're living your best life and you feel fantastic. I don't want you to make the drama that is in your life mean anything about you. It's just simply what life does. Life is lifing, as they say. So if you're here, welcome. It's the first time you've ever heard me speak on this podcast or anywhere else. Thanks for tuning in. It's a real delight to know that people are listening and tuning in and getting some good stuff out of this podcast. Because I know there's lots of podcasts out there that you can spend your time listening to. So I'm very, very honored that you are here listening to me. And if you can hear that puppy, I'm going to kill her later. We have a new puppy in the house, and as much as she's so much fun, she can be noisy and messy, and it looks like a toddler has run riot in my house. There's stuff torn up everywhere and just mess everywhere. Anyway, I'm sure you've experienced it at one point if you've had any sort of dog, but it's a great stage at the same time. So anyway, today I want to talk to you about different cycles that we go through in our life, in our week, in our day sometimes. Sometimes we have different cycles and different phases of energy throughout our day, and definitely no day is the same. As much as we would love it to be the same, as much as I would love just to know that every day that I wake up, I'm going to be feeling great, I'm going to have lots of energy, and that I'm going to be productive and focused and feel energized to work on my goals and to do the things that I said that I was going to do. Some days are just not like that. And in all honesty, this last week for me has been real low impact. And it started off with a sickness, and then it started just turning into something else just all by itself, and I know the reason why. The reason why it turned out to be bigger than it could have been and stopped me for longer than I really am okay with. It's because I didn't manage my mind. My mind and the negative thoughts in my mind grew legs and it just ran off. And then I couldn't catch them. It took me a lot longer to lasso these negative thoughts and rein them in again, because I just indulged in a lot of the negativity that was going on in my head, and I forgot that I have control over my thoughts. And I'm sure you've done the same thing. And so this episode we're talking all about low impact and high impact phases of our life. And I just want you to firstly understand what that is. So a high impact phase looks like you're focused, you're energetic, you've got energy, you feel like you can work all day or do things all day and not be mentally drained by anything. Things happen and they seem to just reflect off you. You don't let them sink in to your inner being or whatever that looks like for you. And those days are freaking fantastic. If I could live in those days all the time, I 100% would. If I had a bottle that I could go and buy that was like a tonic that kept me in that, I would buy that tonic every single day. I would spend money on it and I would swig it like there was no tomorrow, because those days I feel so fantastic. Those days I have focus and clarity, and I'm like loving myself and loving what I'm doing. No negative feelings like just linger. And yeah, who wouldn't want to be in those days? But the truth of the matter is that days are not all like that. So if you've ever said to yourself, look, I'm just having an off week, an off day, I'm so flat, the universe must be in retrograde or something because my energy has just bottomed out, I can't get out of my own way, all those things, you possibly are in a low impact phase. I'm sure there are plenty of other things that happen in the low value phase too that maybe you're not okay with. Maybe you go down a path where you're snapping at people and you're angry and you haven't got your shit together, you're unorganized. Yeah, there might be lots of other things going on in a low value phase that don't make you actually happy even when you get out of it. You might look back on those phases and be like, oh God, I really wasn't my best self in those moments. The first step is then to understand that it is a low impact phase. That's what you're in. They happen unintentionally, and it's okay that you're there. Because the first step is that I want to normalize this ebb and flow. I want to tell you and like pull back the curtain and be like, you know what? Look, everybody's having this. Every single person. There is no person in the world ever that is having all high impact phases. Like never. So if we like to pull the curtain back on all the people in the world, every single one of us are having these phases, and it's totally okay. It's normal. It's meant to happen. And we just have to accept that it's a part of life. And it doesn't actually reflect anything about us as people, because we are all worthy all the time, no matter what we do, what we're not doing, anything like that. So the low impact phase can sometimes feel like a punch in the guts, because maybe Monday you were in like a high impact phase and you were like just punching out the work, getting it done, feeling fantastic, like skipping around. And then Tuesday you wake up and you feel like absolute rubbish. And you start to question, what did I do? Like, what's happened? There must be something wrong. You know, am I sick? Am I sick? Am I mentally sick? And you might actually even say things like, see, I'm never capable of staying in a great state for longer than a day. And then you start beating yourself up, and it's like this constant merry-go-round, and therefore you stay in a low value phase for a lot longer because you are not being kind to yourself. The self-criticism trap is always going to prevent you from getting back into neutral for energy or getting into the high impact phase that you want to be in. So just know, anytime you talk negatively to yourself and like in your head, it's going to prevent you from getting out of it. So it's essential that you actually talk really kindly to yourself in this phase and understand it. So putting language to it's like, this is a low impact phase that I'm going through. I understand that this is normal, that this is not going to last forever, and I can get out of it faster by being really intentional and looking after myself through this phase. And also discussing with people about, this is just me in this phase and it's not going to last. It's not got anything to do with anybody else, because many people, I know myself included, say if my husband is in a low impact phase, again, he's normal. Everybody has a low impact phase. I take it personally. And so it might be the same vice versa. So I might be in a low impact phase and my husband might be taking it personally that he's done something that's put me there. Or, that he's taking offense to it, or I'm taking offense to it. And so just know it's not anybody's fault. There's nothing that has really happened. We're talking about those times where you just fall into these low impact phases, and it might just be from something really simple, or there might be no explanation altogether. You just might be like, what the hell? Like, yesterday I was great, today I'm not so great. And it's just labeling it correctly allowing other people to recognize it as well. So you can speak to the people around you and be like, you know what, this is the low impact phase I'm going through. It's totally okay. It's not your fault. And it's also not my fault. And then we have to shift the mindset from self-comparison in these low impact phases as well, because comparison to other people is going to be the killer and keep you in that phase longer. So we're only focusing on ourselves. We have to give permission for ourselves to be able to rest. If our body is like, you need to rest, maybe you're in a burnout mode. Maybe you need rest. Maybe you need to sleep more. You need to eat more nutritious food. So you have to listen to your body and have heaps of self-compassion, and that requires a mindset shift. If you're in a time of your life where you've got a goal for your health and you want to lose weight, and you are beating yourself up because your body needs more nutrition, but you're restricting it. It has this fine line of looking after yourself and also achieving your goals. You have to recognize this, and it's all in your mindset. Your mindset is either going to be an all or nothing thinking, or you can live in some grey. And I'm all about living in the areas of grey when it comes to stuff like this. There is so much grey in life, and it's just not black and white. And so if you find yourself being in this black and white, this is the way it is and this is the way it has to be, yet your body is like craving something else, really a lot of self-compassion is the answer here. So you could reframe these low impact days. Maybe you can say to yourself, these are recharge days, rather than like a flat day or a non-productive day, or I've just lost a day. You can say these are recharge days. These are really important for me and my health and my goals and my overall life, rather than saying the opposite. And then you can think about things to do in these low impact phases, because from this episode, I want you to understand, firstly, what these phases are. So the low impact and the high impact. We're really focusing on the low impact phase right now, where you're having these flat days, you feeling like you can't even motivate yourself to do anything. And it's about understanding what is going to move you through these phases gently and with compassion, so you can actually just pull on these things in those times. Because a lot of the time, I know for myself, last week, I'm just going to say on Friday last week, it was a public holiday here on the Gold Coast, and I had planned to do a lot of work. I didn't have to go to some meetings that I normally go to. And so I was like, great, I'm just going to have a day of catching up on some work, doing some just tedious tasks that I have not done yet. Anyway, so then I came down with the sickness Wednesday night, and I woke up Thursday morning and I wasn't well. So I sort of just plodded through Thursday. I was kind to myself Thursday, but Friday came and I literally just sat on the lounge all day and basically watched Grey's Anatomy back to back all day. Like all day. And when it came to the end of the day, I was sort of okay through the day, but then it came to the end of the day and man, I was not in a good state, as in I was beating myself up pretty severely by the end of the day, that I hadn't achieved anything, that I hadn't done anything. Yet if I was smart, and I am smart, but if I was in the proper state of mind, I would have actually said to myself, hey, Friday is a public holiday. I'm going to take it as a rest day. It's actually a great day to recharge because all my meetings are cancelled. I actually don't have anything pressing to do. And that would have served me so much more. Even this whole concept of like gentle productivity would have served me more. That's what I did Thursday. Thursday was gentle productivity. Like I was serving myself in that moment, having some compassion, knowing I wasn't feeling that well, but still just like touching base on a few things and just doing things that just didn't require a lot of energy. But Friday I decided, no, that was over. One day was enough of that. And Friday I was going to get to work, and then I didn't. And man, the beating myself up Friday night was definitely extreme. And I wasn't in a very good state. So I had to give myself a really good talking to about how to get out of it. So that's why I came up with this idea of this podcast today, and I created a list. So this is going to be the list that I want you to create for yourself. So this is the example, so you can then go out and create this list for yourself, because creating this list changed everything for me in this moment. And I know that this list I'll be able to lean on in the times where I'm also experiencing another low impact cycle, and I'll be able to lean on that list and be like, what can I do to look after myself, to reframe these thoughts that I've got going on that aren't helpful and are not supporting me getting the rest that I need, or kicking me up the butt to get me back into work. Like, sometimes we're not sick, we don't need rest, we're just procrastinating, and there is times where you need to give yourself like a swift, reboot to get you back into action mode, and sometimes that is needed. For this one, I was really thinking about how I can get myself back into that gentle productivity and not be consuming or buffering on things like Netflix. And so I just didn't want to do that for the rest of the weekend. And this helped me and supported myself to do this. So this is the list. I'm going to start with this list, and then we're going to go back and just finish off with a couple of other pointers. So the background of the story why I created the list. And then I was listening to my coach yesterday. This morning. It was only this morning. And she used an analogy, and I thought it was great. So I'm just going to share that with you here. She talked about how we always reach for a pill or an ointment or a cream when something on our body is physically wrong. Say we've got a mosquito bite or a burn. We go into the medicine cabinet and we find the correct ointment that will fix the ailment that we've got. So say if it's a burn, you've got a burn cream of some sort of aloe vera, you actually put that on the burn. And once you put it on the burn, you don't think that it's going to magically just heal straight away. You know that it might take a few days, right? Like, you put the cream on and it doesn't mean that it instantly goes away. You're like, okay, that's going to help heal the burn, and I'm willing to wait for it to heal. Like, we've got no other option when it comes to a burn and a physical ailment. So we put the cream on and it's like, okay, that's done. And so then when we have it's almost like a mental health day. It's like we're having lots of thoughts spinning in our heads, and the healing that needs to happen is in our minds. We don't ever reach for anything really that's going to help soothe and heal our mind. We generally beat ourselves up and say, why the hell are you doing this? This is not right. Like, just get over it, like chill or calm down, just move on, push through. Yet if we were to spend time and focus on things that were going to heal our minds, it is just exactly like reaching for the ointment for the burn. We have to find what works, we have to apply it, then we have to wait and be patient and nurture ourselves through the process. We're not going to go sit out in the sun when we've burnt our hand on the fry pan, because it'll double down, it'll make it worse. So we have to figure out what works for us mentally and in our minds too, to create the healing environment that it needs. So that's where this list came into place. So what I wrote down was firstly a question that I was seeking answers to. So the question was, when I feel I'm in a low impact phase, what can I do for myself in this time to help me heal and move through it? That was the question I asked myself. I actually wrote it at the top of the page. And then this is what I wrote down. I spent some time, it wasn't very long, like 10 minutes or so, but I spent enough time that it allowed me to get more answers than just spending 5 minutes. It's always important to spend that little bit of extra time allowing your mind to like wander and figure out and problem solve without just writing 2 or 3 notes down and then thinking it's done. Always wait and just see how much you can actually squeeze out of your brain for that moment. And like I said, it doesn't have to be long. 10 minutes is all it takes. So this is what I wrote down. I wrote down, move my body, even if it's slowly. Because I know every time, if I'm having a low impact phase and I'm laying on the couch all day like I did on Friday, I make myself feel worse. And so getting up and walking around my estate, even for 10 minutes, even just in my thongs or my slides, rather than having to get dressed up to go for like a walk, just do it really gently. That always just shifts some energy. It's a really great way to make myself feel better in that moment. It's just like nurturing for the soul. And so that's what I wrote down firstly. And I also put in brackets, I'm not allowed to lay on the couch all day and watch TV. Like it's like a rule that I create for myself in this moment. And then I also wrote down I could clean out a drawer or a cupboard, because that always cleanses my soul. Cleaning out that drawer, I know, will distract my brain from all the negativity and give me a focus, and it's also productive. Like I suppose it's a really great form of gentle productivity. It's like it's mostly going to get done anyway, so I may as well do it now while I need the distraction, and it's a good distraction. So clean out a drawer or a cupboard. Another thing was to get out of my office. So say if I'm having a day that I need to be in my office to do some work, maybe I can change environments. So I could take my laptop or my notebook to the park, to get outside, maybe even just moving out to the kitchen table rather than being in my office, or over to the cafe to have a coffee or a cold drink or something while I did some work over there. It's just like changing the environment. The next thing I wrote down was do a thought download. Like this always works for me. When I'm having a moment of negativity in my brain and causing these low impact phases, doing a thought download, just understanding what is going on in my brain is so very helpful. So I highly recommend that one. And you don't have to do anything with it. You can just like get it out of your brain, download it, and just close your journal and move on. Another thing that I have done in the past is put on some upbeat music and dance it out. I'm not a dancer and I don't like dancing in front of people, but sometimes I take myself up to my bedroom, I put loud music on the speaker, and I just dance my heart out in my walk-in wardrobe. And I got busted one day from Oscar, my son, and I was like, oh, that's embarrassing. but it's not. Like, it's something that I needed to do because it was shifting energy, and it was actually really high impact type of dancing, and it was just felt so good. And I actually, just thinking about it now, I need to do that more often because that shifts my energy so well. It just like levels up my energy, and sometimes you just need to call in the energy to get out of these cycles. So that's something that we can try, and I might be doing that more often. And yeah, it might even create better podcasts for you if I like get into this state before recording a podcast. The next thing was run up and down the stairs 5 times. Again, it's this whole idea about shifting some energy. If I'm feeling flat and lethargic and there's no known reason, like I'm not sick or I'm not feeling unwell, running up and down the stairs 5 times will definitely get my blood pumping and get me into a different state again, which is the purpose of this. Then another thing that I wrote down was watch or listen to something that I know motivates me or calms me, depending on what I feel I need in the moment. Sometimes I just need some nice soothing music on to just ground myself and get me back into my body and to nature even, some sounds of the ocean. I love creek sounds like soft water, trickling water, that type of stuff. That always makes me feel really at home. Even like farmyard sounds makes me feel at home. So depending on what my mood is. But then sometimes I need to get on and listen to my coach and get on and listen to a podcast that I know is going to motivate me, that's got more of a hit or a bang for your buck, if you will, to really shift your mindset. If you're feeling quite shit, it's like, okay, I need to get on and listen to Mel Robbins or my coach or whoever. So that is always helpful tools. Okay, and this is what happens when you wait and spend more time allowing your brain to go out and problem solve in these moments, because this last one was like, there it is. This is the winner when it comes to being in this low impact phase for me, especially when it comes to my business. So I've got lots to do in my business and I'm feeling flat and lethargic, and I just can't seem to get back in and get motivated to do the work that is required. This is what I came up with. create something for my clients. That was the note that I wrote down for myself, because this always fills me up, and instantly it has me thinking about them rather than thinking about me. Because half of the problem of the low impact phase is that you're thinking about you. You're like really in like self-pity mode, self-focused and flat, and it's like me, and usually poor me. That's really what's going on in your mind. And so when I get into thinking about my clients and how I can serve them and help them, and I love creating stuff, like I'm full of ideas about creating stuff. So it's like, create something. Look at my list that I've got prepared, that I've got all my ideas on, and just go, I'm just going to pick that. I'm just going to do that. Create it. Whether it be a podcast or a workbook or a document or a training or something that can be added to my Finishers Club course. Create something. Create something for my client, for the people that I love to help and serve, and that will get me out of this low impact phase. It takes the focus off me. I love that. And I loved that I spent enough time in my mind problem solving for this question and found that, because that was the absolute winner for me. So just to close off this whole conversation around high impact and low impact phases, to get out of the low impact phase, there's a couple of other things that you can do. So you can rest with intention. I think this is so important. Most people just take rest for granted. And it's really important to actually rest with intention. When you do work with me, I often have people put their free time on their calendar first. If we're ever doing any sort of scheduling, I always say to them, okay, free time first. Where can you put your free time? And you get to choose what you do in your free time. And usually it's a lot to do with rest as well. So rest with intention and allow yourself to rejuvenate in those moments. Don't just think it's going to come no matter what and you'll get there. Do it with intention. The next thing is like manage your expectation about being constantly in productivity. It's an absolute fallacy that we can be productive 100% of the time. I know I'm only productive for a few hours a day, and so I've got to make the most of that time. And so I just need to remind you that you only have a certain amount of time that you can be productive as well. And even though you might say you work for 8 hours, maybe only 5 of those hours are productive and the other 3 are just filled with tasks that don't require a lot of brain power, that are fairly easy going and that you don't need to be like super focused on. And just know that about yourself. Know that you cannot be in constant productivity, and lower your expectations of yourself that you can. So in episode 56 of the podcast, I talk about this concept of mastering the bounce back. And this is where this will help as well. So if you want to go in and listen to that episode, it's going to help, because it's all about that bounce back rate being faster out of these low impact phases. Because if you're stuck there and you allow yourself to indulge in all the negativity that is going on in a low impact phase, you will stay there for longer. So you have to learn to bounce back quickly, and it has got a lot to do with your mindset, because we want you to have a stronger bounce back period. So as we know, the low impact phase is always going to show up. You're never going to be in a high impact phase constantly, but we want to shorten these low impact phases and get you out of them quicker. So mastering the art of the bounce back is going to be really important to you. So I suggest you head over and listen to episode 56, Master the Bounce Back, again, or if you haven't listened to it already, listen in and see where it takes you. Okay, so for the homework for this episode, I don't normally give homework, but I really want you to create that list for yourself. So I read out my own list about how I can look after myself in this low impact phase, and I want you to create your own list as well. So write this list, and you have to look at it with intention and be like, okay, when I'm in a low impact phase, what could I choose today to see if it works? It's like experimenting. We have to just experiment with the list. So it's like, pick the first thing that you wrote down and try that. Go for a walk. Does that help? Does it not help? What's the next thing? And, so on and so forth. So really try out all the things on your list and don't just assume they're either going to work or not going to work, but really try them out. And that's the homework. That's the homework for you from this episode today, is to write your own list of what will help you move through a low impact phase faster and master the art of the bounce back. Okay, my friends, that is it. I'm going to leave that with you. Go out, write your list, show up for your list and test them out and let me know how it goes. And if you need support, I am in the process of moving everything across to a new website. So I still haven't actually had that conversation about all my new branding and things. That will come, but there has been a bit of a delay. So if you want to get on the list for the Finishers Club, there's nowhere to go at the moment except to get on to the wait list through a form. So if you want to get all the information about the Finishers Club when it opens up at the end of this month, I would love you to be on that list so you can get all the correspondence about it, because inside the Finishers Club, that's where you'll learn all these tools in a more in-depth way and in a more of a structured way that will have you be in a high impact phase more often than a low impact phase, and allowing you to practice and experiment with these things that we talked about on this episode today. So if you want to get on that list, the form is in the show notes, and I would love you to be in the Finishers Club. It's a great community of people learning how to finish their goals by first finishing their first 4-week goal. So if that's what you want in your life, you want to start finishing the things that you say you're going to do, please jump on the list and start joining in the conversation about what that looks like. And otherwise, I'll talk to you next week. Okay, my friends, have a great week. Bye.
Thanks for listening to More Life, Less Drama. If you're ready to finish your goals, Prue invites you to join her inside the Finishers Club, where you will learn how to finish your first intentional goal, the hardest part, then complete every goal you set your mind to using her simple formula. Visit head-coach.com.au to get started today.